The sun was lowering behind the Red Canyon cliffs when the river first changed its voice, deepening from a gentle rush to a dangerous roar that echoed across the valley like a warning to late herd. And Evelyn Turner felt her heart tighten as her little boy, Caleb, wandered too close to the swirling current with a stick in his hand, laughing as though the world had no sharp edges. One misstep, one patch of loose earth. And suddenly the laughter snapped into a scream that tore through the canyon as the river grabbed him like a living beast, pulling him off his feet and dragging him into the violent, churning rapids that hammered down the river bend. Evelyn froze, time shattering around her like glass as she watched her child tumble helplessly, his small arms flailing, swallowed by white water and fear. And before she could even breathe to scream again, a shadow thundered in from the ridge, above the unmistakable figure of a cowboy on horseback, riding low, fierce, and impossibly fast, as though danger itself had carved a trail only he could follow. This was Colt Maddox, a man known across the territory not for his words, but for the things he did when others hesitated. A man who carried silent storms in his eyes and scars that told stories no one dared to ask for. He saw the boy vanish around the bend and did not think he simply yanked his reins, driving his horse down the steep slope, loose dirt spraying behind him as he tore through brush and rock. Chasing the river's fury with a determination that looked almost reckless, Evelyn ran along the bank, breathless and stumbling, screaming her son's name as Colt spurred his horse forward. Racing the water as if time and death could be outrun by sheer will, and when the river bent sharply a place where jagged stones and fallen branches created deadly snags, Colt knew the boy wouldn't survive unless he beat the current there first. With one final push, he launched himself from his saddle, hitting the water with a force that knocked the wind from his lungs but didn't slow him. The cold bit into his bones. The rapids hammered his body, dragging him under and spinning him like a rag doll. But through the chaos, he caught a glimpse of Caleb's small head bobbing between waves, eyes wide with terror, mouth open in a voiceless cry. Colt fought the river, each stroke feeling like he was pushing against a mountain, but he kept going until his fingers brushed the boy's shirt. Caleb slipped from his grip as the current spun them both, but Colt lunged again, locking his arm around the child's chest, pulling him tightly against his own body as he kicked toward a fallen log wedged between rocks, a rare moment of mercy from nature itself. Evelyn reached the bank just in time to see the cowboy wrestle the boy onto the log, the child coughing violently, spitting water, alive. And Colt, gasping but steady, pushed Caleb upward, bracing him so his mother could grab him with trembling hands, pulling him to safety with a sob that came from every shattered part of her heart. She cradled him to her chest, rocking him, crying and laughing and whispering prayers, while Colt climbed from the river, bruised, drenched, and breathing hard, water streaming from his hat brim as though the river hadn't quite let go of him yet. Yet even then, with pain radiating through his ribs and legs, he looked only at the boy, not the danger he had endured. "He's safe now, ma'am," he said quietly, wiping water from his brow, as though this were all in a day's work, as though his bravery weren't the very reason a mother's world hadn't ended on that riverbank. Evelyn grabbed his hand, gripping it tightly, unable to speak through her gratitude. But Colt simply tipped his hat, a man uncomfortable with praise, one who believed actions spoke truer than any words. The sun dipped lower, painting the canyon gold, and the three of them stood there for a moment that felt like a borrowed miracle, the kind of moment that changes the shape of a life forever. And as Caleb finally opened his eyes and whispered, "Mama?" Evelyn broke completely, pressing her forehead to his, holding him as though she would never let go again. Colt stepped away, quiet as a fading shadow, ready to slip back into the world like a wandering guardian who never waited for thanks. But Evelyn called out to him, her voice still trembling, "Colt, I owe you everything." He paused, looking back with a tired smile, his voice low but warm. "Just keep that boy close. That's all the payment I need." Then he walked toward his horse, the river behind him still snarling, but for the first time since the scream had torn the air, Evelyn felt the world steady beneath her feet. She watched him ride off slowly, a hero carved by the land itself, a man who didn't belong to any home but somehow made every home safer just by being near. And as the wind carried the last light across the canyon, Evelyn lifted her boy in her arms, whispering thanks to God, to the river for sparing him, and to the cowboy who chased death and won. If you loved this powerful story of courage, heart, and frontier heroism, make sure you subscribe to our channel for more breathtaking tales that keep your heart racing and your spirit inspired. Your support helps us bring more stories like this to life.